The RK89 is Royal Kludge's attempt at taking a layout of a keyboard that keeps a number pad and downsizing it as much as possible. What you get is a board that delivers a pretty unique experience. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys, Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. A couple months ago, I reviewed a compact mechanical keyboard from Royal Kludge, which was the RK96. This keyboard used a custom 96% layout, which I found to be very attractive and convenient because of its compact size compared to a full-size keyboard, and yet it still retained a number pad, allowing it to deliver the experience of a full-size board in a small footprint. The overall build quality was pretty good, and when modded, it became even better and is now my favorite keyboard from all the ones I own. But we're not here to talk about the RK96, instead we're going to be taking a look at the RK89. This keyboard was released alongside the RK96, and it follows the same design philosophy of using a custom compact layout while retaining a number pad, except this board takes things even further by being even more smaller than the RK96. At some point you just have to ask yourself, how far can you take this compact number pad design until you're making too many compromises? I'm thankful for Royal Kludge for sending this sample out to me so that I can review it for you guys and also compare it against the RK96 to give you guys my thoughts on what I like and don't like. Starting off with a quick unboxing, the keyboard comes in Royal Kludge's signature orange and black box. It has a silhouette of the keyboard on the front of the box with their branding. On the top of the box you have info in regards to the model number and the switch type. The back has just another skeletal picture of the keyboard, but that's really about it, and as I mentioned in the RK96 review, it would have been nice for them to start including some highlights of important features that their keyboard has to offer, but I take it this box was also designed back when they were shipping the RK96. Now, opening up the box, you have the keyboard itself wrapped in some plastic, and what I find disappointing is that there is no packing foam inside to protect the keyboard. Mine thankfully arrived in one piece, but just having some foam can really go a long way and save some future headaches. Along with the keyboard, they give you a USB-C to Type-A cable, a 2-in-1 tool for pulling out keycaps, and switches, which is very handy. And they do also include some extra switches in case you need to replace some down the road. Taking a look at the RK89 itself, at first glance it looks quite similar to the Royal Kludge RK96, minus the wrist rest. However, there are some key differences with the RK89 that you should take note of. For starters, even though this keyboard has a number pad, it's not a full traditional number pad where you have mathematical function keys around it, and there isn't a return or enter key either. While I can live without the extra mathematical function keys, I found myself more often than not reaching for this non-existent return key. I'm not going to lie, it felt a bit awkward when I was typing in some numbers and then wasn't able to press the return key right beside the number pad. Along with that, you can see that they have combined the arrow keys into the number pad, so that also took some time to get used to. I'm not really complaining, and trust me, having this kind of numpad is still better than having none at all. Now, right above the number pad, we've got this small Royal Kludge badge that illuminates when you have the keyboard turned on. I mean, it looks cool and all, but I feel like they could have used this space to add some important dedicated keys, like perhaps a volume control knob, print screen, delete, numlock, and more. It honestly seems kind of redundant. I get it, they want to show off their brand, but when you have the logo printed at the bottom, you can't help but think that they could have used this space more wisely. The rest of the keyboard looks pretty typical from what you'd find on a full-size keyboard, and you can see the top F row has the same traditional spacing that you'd find on a full-size keyboard, which I thought was interesting considering they condensed it on the RK96. The result of this unique layout is that you end up with a keyboard that essentially is the same size as a 10 keyless, except you get the advantage of having a number pad, which then gives you an experience as if you have a full-size keyboard, or close to that, though you sacrifice having dedicated navigation keys like home, insert, page down, or up, as they've been integrated into alphanumeric keys and are accessed by holding down the function key and corresponding letter key. Me personally, if it wasn't obvious already, I take a number pad over the navigation keys any day, but I can see some opting for a set of navigation keys instead. To each their own, right? Let's move on to the aesthetics and build quality of the keyboard. As I had mentioned earlier, a lot of the design elements and build quality this keyboard has to offer are very similar to its bigger brother, the RK96. The Royal Kludge RK89 measures 14.2 inches wide, is 5.2 inches long, and is 1.5 inches thick. The keyboard has a very clean and minimalistic design. It's got a smooth white matte finish to it. There are no tacky gamer accents to be found here, which is a pretty good thing. The whole entire case of the keyboard is made out of plastic, but the quality of the plastic they're using feels sturdy and robust. Just like with the RK96, what I was very pleased to see was the fact that the front plate, where the key switches and keycaps rest on, is a very solid metal plate. This will create a better and satisfying sound when typing on it as opposed to a plastic plate. Along with that, it adds sturdiness to the overall rigidity of the board. The feedback I got when I was typing was good in the sense that there was no flex at all on the plate, and that is something which can annoy me, so I was glad that I didn't experience that here. The frame of the keyboard is also removable, so you can have this open concept look if you prefer that. I think that's a pretty cool inclusion. I think what I'm going to be doing when modding this keyboard is that I might paint it a different color. We'll see. Interestingly, the stock keycaps they're using actually feel superior to the ones that were used on the RK96. They're ABS keycaps and they don't appear any thicker than the keycaps on the RK96. However, the plastic feels more sturdier, they have a smoother finish, and they didn't feel as cheap. A bit surprising considering the keyboard is cheaper than the RK96. One of the major selling points of any mechanical keyboard are its switches. The sample I got here uses Royal Kludge's in-house brown switches. I thought I'd go back to trying out some tactical switches. They do also sell a version of this keyboard which has stock reds or blues if those suit your preferences better. The experience I had with the RK Brown switches was fairly positive. I'd actually rate them as slightly better quality than the red switches, which are quite scratchy. And there's noticeably less wobble to them as well. Along with that, they give you a nice tactile feedback and are adequately smooth for a stock switch. However, I did feel as though these brown switches were a bit heavier when it comes to actuation when compared to Gateron Browns or Cherry MX Browns. Overall, they're not terrible for stock switches. Another major selling point of this keyboard is the inclusion of a hot-swappable PCB. This PCB supports 3-pin and 5-pin switches, which gives the user a whole bunch of opportunities to use whichever aftermarket switch they like. I will probably end up making another video showcasing some mods I'll be doing for this keyboard with some aftermarket switches, so stay tuned for that. As I had mentioned in my RK96 review, I absolutely love it when a manufacturer incorporates a hot-swappable PCB. I think every keyboard manufacturer should just implement this kind of PCB for the keyboard. It really doesn't cost a whole lot, it allows the user to customize their board to their preference, and saves you the hassle of a lengthy repair if a switch gets damaged. It's really as easy as just popping one out and putting another one in its place. This also opens the opportunity for them to sell their own switches as well. When it comes to the stabilizers, they're actually quite good. They do come factory lubed, which is nice. There was minimal rattle and they were quite consistent. When we do a teardown of the keyboard, we can see they have included 2 layers of silencer foam in the keyboard, which is awesome. There's foam between the plate and the PCB, and then there's another layer of foam at the bottom of the case. This helps to reduce sound and just creates an overall premium typing experience, as that way you don't get that hollow, cheap feeling with some of the lower end keyboards on the market. Now, if you were wondering what this keyboard sounded like, here's a typing test, and do note, I'm not a pro typer by any means. Unlike the RK96, the RK89 doesn't come with a wrist rest, which is a bit of an inconvenience since I prefer to use my keyboards with one. Although this keyboard is cheaper, so I guess that's to be expected, they had to cut some corners somewhere. What would have been really nice to see would have been some cable routes on the bottom of the keyboard. As someone who uses a pair of headphones and sits fairly far from my PC, I have a cable running across my desk and would usually route it underneath my mousepad and keyboard. But since the bottom of the keyboard is so flat, it would actually cause it to wobble a bit, and that was pretty noticeable, so now I have to run my wire off to the side like this. Not a huge deal, but I thought I'd point this out if you're someone who uses a headset primarily and routes their cable at the bottom of their keyboard. Speaking of the bottom, We can see that there are 4 rubberized pads on each corner to prevent slippage, and there are also 2 kick feet stands which have 2 positions depending on how profound you want the tilt of the keyboard, and both of the feet have rubber on them. Then we can see that there is a USB dongle and 2 toggle switches. Just like with the RK84 and RK96, the 89 also comes with its own dedicated 2.4 GHz dongle that works immediately as soon as you plug it into your PC. No need to go around looking for drivers, it's a plug and play process. However, say you're traveling with the keyboard and you forget the dongle, then not to worry, this keyboard also supports Bluetooth 5.0, so you can choose to use the keyboard that way instead. When using the keyboard wirelessly, the experience I had was just as good when I was using it with a wire. There was no noticeable input lag, keys registered with practically no latency, and I didn't experience any sort of intermittent disconnects. I thought it was really convenient to have 3 methods of connectivity that you can opt to use for this keyboard, making it very versatile. When it comes to battery life, the RK89 has a 1850 mAh battery, which is slightly less than half the capacity of the RK96, and that smaller battery was definitely noticeable. If you choose to use the keyboard primarily wirelessly, then you will find yourself charging it more often. What is cool, however, is that if you wanted to check out how much battery life you have left, then all you have to do is just hold down the function key and press enter. This will then illuminate the number row all the way from 1 to 0, which will showcase how much battery you have left. I think it's a pretty neat feature. What's also nice for the user is that if the board hasn't been used for a while, it will turn off the LEDs, but it won't fully put the keyboard to sleep. This is preferable so you're not waiting for the keyboard to reconnect and respawn, but you do save battery by shutting off those LEDs. Another thing I wanted to point out with this keyboard was the fact that just like with the RK96, we've got 2 USB Type A ports that can be used for various devices, such as a game controller or mouse. This makes it convenient if you sit further away from your PC like I do, and you just don't want cables running all over your desk, so this definitely helps in alleviating that. What I wouldn't recommend you use it for is for data transfer. If you wanted to plug in an external hard drive or a USB thumbstick, you're still better off plugging that directly to your PC. As for lighting, there's really not much to say here because the version that I received has this ice blue backlighting. It doesn't have any RGB lighting. With that said, I believe they are going to be coming out with an RGB version in the near future. So if you prefer to have those rainbow effects or various colors on your keyboard, then I suggest waiting for that one. For me personally, it doesn't really matter to me as I would have probably ended up using this kind of backlighting setup anyways. Though you can still customize the effects on the keyboard, and they do also have a software you can download if you really want to go in depth with your lighting customization. The illumination of the LEDs is pretty good. They have 5 levels and they can get quite bright, so I generally keep them at level 3, which is adequate for myself. So that basically covers everything I want to go over for this review, and now I wanted to tell you guys my conclusive thoughts. If you were to ask me if I would recommend this keyboard, I would say it really depends, but for most people, you're probably better off going with the RK96. I feel like the RK89 is only going to benefit an extremely niche category of users, and that's primarily those who are looking for the smallest keyboard possible while also keeping the number pad. For everyone else, the RK96 just offers much better value. Currently on Amazon at the time of making this video, the RK89 goes for $69.99, which definitely isn't a bad price, but then the RK96 goes for $10 more than that at $79.99. In terms of build quality, both keyboards are almost identical, with the keycaps I found being of slightly better quality on the RK89. However, in regards to functionality, I found the RK96 to be better. You get more usable keys, there's a volume wheel and a nice wrist rest, bigger battery, and it's not significantly bigger. Now, if you don't care about all of that and you like the layout of the RK89, then I say go for it. Like I said, it still has great build quality, it's customizable and mod friendly, comes with 3 connectivity methods. If you're interested in picking one up, I'll leave an affiliate link in the video description to where you can pick one up for yourself. The next video involving the RK89 will be me showing you guys the mods I will apply to this board, so be on the lookout for that. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.